Apple is expected to have a big year in 2024. I'm going to tell you everything that we're expecting from the iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, and AirPods. So let's start with the iPhone, where Apple is expected to launch the iPhone 16, 16 Plus, 16 Pro, and 16 Pro Max. The Pro models are rumored to get the first increase in screen sizes in a few years, from 6.1 to 6.3 and 6.7 to 6.9 inches, the largest iPhones ever made for sale. While previously Apple made the screen sizes bigger by shrinking the bezels around the edge, this is going to be the first time in a while that they are expected to physically grow the size and dimensions of the phone. But keep in mind that with the titanium frame, it should still be lightweight and easily held in one hand. Rumors also say the dynamic island might get smaller, because Apple might be moving the Face ID sensor underneath the physical display. But this only comes from one rumor, and it would require a major technological breakthrough, so it might not happen. On the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus, the displays are probably going to stay the same size, but the phones might get a little slimmer around the edges, and they might get the same boost in brightness. If you don't like big phones, it's not all bad news, because you may no longer need to buy Apple's biggest phone to get their best camera. Rumors suggest the 5X tetraprism design telephoto camera might be coming to the smaller iPhone 16 Pro, not just the 16 Pro Max. Another big boost is coming to the ultra-wide camera, which has kept the same physical sensor and lens since the iPhone 13 models. But supposedly, on the iPhone 16 models, they will get upgraded to a 48 megapixel sensor, which will be a huge boost in clarity and quality. This might also allow recording 3D spatial videos in 4K, up from just 1080p. Spatial video recording may also be coming to the iPhone 16 models, where they're going to rearrange the camera lenses to be side by side, perfect for recording 3D videos when you're holding your phone horizontally, rather than diagonally. Another pro feature is coming to the regular phones, the Action button, which replaces the Ring mute switch with a clickable button that can do any number of things that you can program it to do. Rumors also point to there being a new Capture button that will sit on the opposite side below the Power button. We're not really sure what it'll do, but the name suggests it might open the camera or be used to take pictures. It'll be force sensitive, so it won't physically click, it'll be pressure sensitive to your finger. The Power and Volume buttons might use this technology too. Apple already uses it on the trackpads on MacBooks and on the iPad, and on the Home button on iPhones like the iPhone 7, 8, and SE. And they were supposedly working on this for last year's iPhone until it got shelved at the last minute. It's also going to come with a huge update to the internal components. Wi-Fi 6E is still only just now being rolled out in consumer devices, but Apple is going to future-proof these iPhones by building in Wi-Fi 7 chips. The 3nm technology that Apple used to build the A17 chip is going to be upgraded. This will be using the bleeding edge of silicon technology and will bring a huge boost to efficiency and power. Pro phones will get the new 5G advanced chip, which will enhance their connectivity to 5G towers while reducing the required power. The regular models will not get this new feature. Pro models will supposedly get a new stacked battery technology, which will improve the energy density, which will lead to much longer battery life in the same physical size, and it will improve the wired charging speeds as well. And a new metal plate that will sit on top of it will help with heat dissipation as it's charging, so it'll be more efficient as well. Now, for every other tech company, 2023 was the year of AI, and supposedly next year, Apple is going to roll out what they've been cooking up as well. Everybody with iOS 18 is going to get a more powerful version of Siri, built on Apple's large language models running on their servers. But some features are going to be exclusive to the iPhone 16. Supposedly, some advanced generative features will run directly on the hardware itself. A lot of this, I imagine, will be powered by the A18 chip inside of it. Apple will also be upgrading the microphone hardware on the devices as well, so they can better hear and understand your voice from greater distances. Now, a somewhat unsubstantiated rumor suggests Apple might also be working on a fifth iPhone 16 model that will sit above the Pro Max, called the iPhone 16 Ultra. If it follows the model of the Apple Watch Ultra, it'll have a bigger, brighter display, longer battery life, an emphasis on durability, and allegedly an even more powerful telephoto camera with an up to 300mm focal length, which could be a 12x zoom. And all of this, of course, will come at a very premium price point. But a nice feature that's coming for everybody next year is RCS, Rich Communication Services. Apple publicly announced that they will be adding this feature to iMessage next year for everybody. This means that texting with green bubble friends on Android phones will be faster, more reliable. You might get new features like read receipts, higher quality images and videos, and more. Now let's talk about the iPad. 2023 was a slow year for the iPad, to say the least, as there were no iPads, but every single iPad is going to get a big update next year. Starting with the top of the line iPad Pro, these are going to get the biggest refresh of all, with an OLED screen, a first on the iPad, the M3 chips previously introduced on the MacBooks, and supposedly a redesigned keyboard and trackpad accessory that will make it feel more premium and closer to a real laptop. And they'll get a slight boost in size, up to 11 and 13 inches. With the iPad Pros shifting upmarket, the iPad Air will get a boost as well, sort of filling their place in the lineup if you don't have as much money to spend, with a new 12.9-inch iPad Air model. All models will supposedly be getting Face ID, and the camera will be moving to the horizontal edge rather than the vertical edge. And they'll get the very latest M3 chip as well. The iPad Pro and the iPad Air are both expected to come at a March event, just around the corner from now. The iPad mini, which hasn't seen some love in a few years, is going to get an update as well, from the A15 chip to possibly the A17 Pro, while keeping the same design. And finally, towards the end of the year, Apple will be updating its basic iPad with a new 11th generation model, keeping the same design, but at its lowest price yet, which will finally let them drop the 9th generation iPad from the lineup. Now let's talk about the Mac. So Apple squeezed out its biggest Mac news just in November of this year, when they introduced the M3 family of chips, the M3, M3 Pro, and M3 Max, on the new MacBook Pros and the new iMac. So 2024 will be about bringing these chips to the rest of the Macs in the lineup, starting with a 13 and 15-inch MacBook Air, which will probably be announced at the very same March event. These computers will get the M3 chip, but keep the same price point and the same lovable design. They might get a new color though, so watch out for that. The M1 MacBook Air, which holds down the $999 price point, will probably be dropped from the lineup, with the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air moving down to fill that spot. A new Mac Mini with M3 and M3 Pro could come at this March event as well. These new models would update the chips inside at the very same price point, replacing the M2 models in the lineup. The Mac Mini, of course, is a top pick for independent creators like myself, small businesses, and server farms because of its modular design. And currently there's no way to get Apple's latest and greatest chips in this cheaper form factor. You have to pay a premium of $700 to get an iMac or a MacBook Pro. That leaves the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro. And according to Bloomberg, these computers won't receive their updates until the very end of the year, or possibly the beginning of next year. Apple is buying basically all of TSMC's 3nm manufacturing capability, which is of course what the M3 family of chips is built off of. So the Mac Studio and Mac Pro, being the lowest volume computers they sell, will receive the M3 chips the last. This is also due to the fact that these computers receive the top of the line chip Apple still hasn't introduced yet, the M3 Ultra. The Ultra chips double the capability of the Mac's chips, which means that the M3 Ultra will supposedly have a 32-core CPU, 80-core GPU, 32-core neural engine, and be configurable up to 256 gigabytes of unified memory. This is a very hard chip to manufacture, so it makes sense that Apple is keeping these machines for last. And with that in mind, there probably won't be an M4 MacBook Pro introduced next year. If Apple isn't introducing the M3 Ultra machines until the end of this year or the beginning of next year, there's no chance we'll be seeing an M4 next year. You'll probably have to wait until June or fall of 2025 for the new M4 MacBook Pros. The M3 MacBook Pros that Apple just introduced will be the latest and greatest for a while to come. But the M4 will be a great upgrade when it arrives, as it will also be moving to the enhanced 3nm manufacturing process that will bring greater power and greater efficiency. I think it'll be the first must-have upgrade to anybody still on M1 by the time it's introduced. Now 2024 might be a big year for the Apple Watch, which is getting a big update for its 10th anniversary. The Apple Watch Series 10 will supposedly have a much thinner case, a bigger display with a new display technology, new sensors, and even a new band connector to carry it for the next 10 years. The new screen might use micro LED technology, which will make it significantly brighter and much more power efficient, which is very important on the Apple Watch with its always-on display. The thinner case will be very welcome because the Apple Watch has gotten rounder and smoother over time, but it's never gotten dramatically thinner like the iPhone did in its first few years. A thinner watch means it'll fit easier under a long shirt sleeve, and it's much less likely to get scratched, bumped, or even cracked on a table or door handle or cabinet. Now, if your fingers are crossed for blood glucose monitoring, that's still supposedly a few years out. Apple's still working away on that. But it might get blood pressure monitoring. Not the full systolic, diastolic, but more of a trend line that it'll be able to indicate, or if you're undergoing hypertension. And some scattered rumors say Apple might be updating the band connector for the first time in the Apple Watch's history, which will be very frustrating to a lot of people who have a big collection of Apple Watch bands. But supposedly the current design is very hard to manufacture with a lot of incredibly tight manufacturing tolerances, and Apple's new connector will take up much less physical space inside the device. It'll supposedly use more magnets rather than physically clicking pieces. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but again, these are just rumors. We'll see what happens. Last but not least, AirPods 4 are coming next year, and Apple is introducing two models, both a premium and lower cost model, to replace AirPods 2 and 3 from the lineup entirely. Both models will get the modern bud design with shorter stems. Both charging cases will be updated to USB-C to match the latest iPhones, and the more premium models will get some form of active noise cancellation, which you can currently only get if you upgrade to AirPods Pro. AirPods Max, Apple's over-the-ear headphones, are getting a minor update as well, updating to USB-C, and possibly with new colors to keep it fresh. According to Bloomberg, this is going to be a more minor update since these headphones don't sell in great volumes, but I won't be surprised if they also get voice isolation and the other smart features that you get on AirPods Pro 2. And speaking of which, are we going to see a new AirPods Pro 3? Probably not. Apple updates those on a 3-year cycle, so they're likely coming in the fall of 2025. So that is supposedly everything Apple is working on in 2024. Hope I didn't forget anything. Remember to like and subscribe. You can find articles with all of this information and more linked in the video description. I'm Griffin Jones with Cult of Mac.